Kenneth Anger, welcome to the ICA. It's an honour to be able to show so many of your films in our Weekend of Anger season. I've heard you mention London a few times now, and I wondered if you could tell me a little bit about your connection with London. You called it your second home.
Well, I first visited London in 1950, when there was still signs of water damage, of war, things that were hidden behind fences, but you could see that the damage hadn't been totally restored yet. But it's a fabulous city, and it looks beautiful now.
And you, throughout your career, have collaborated with a number of people, so say Mick Jagger as one example. Were those connections you made in London, or were those kind of connections you made on the scene?
Yes, they're connections I made in London. Mick Jagger, Marianne Faithfull, and I was friends with Peter Watson, one of the early directors of the ICA, and he was helpful.
And another Englishman that's come up a number of times in your work is Aleister Crowley, which has been a massive influence on you. I wondered if you could share with us just kind of a few words about the influence and how much that has taken over.
Well, Crowley was a over-the-top individual because he was a talented poet. He wrote philosophy, and he was a magician, which is a rather special occupation. But I was familiar with his work early on when I was a teenager through the widow of Jack Parsons. It was his adopted son. Her name was Marjorie, and Marjorie Cameron. And she was in my film inauguration of the Pleasure Dome as the Scarlet Woman.
A number of people have cited you as the sort of forefather of the music video. How do you feel about that?
Well, I've never been invited to make one. I understand it's quite profitable, but I accept that because I was doing it before they were.
And was it a conscious decision to avoid dialogue in your films at the very beginning and use music and sound?
Yes, well, basically, I've always made silent films with music. I've sort of veered away from what I call talkies, even when the means was available. And I prefer film to be a kind of vision, like a silent dream.